It happened on a quiet Tuesday evening, just as the sky turned gold and the world outside our little cafe slowed down. I had known Zayan for years, through heartbreaks, through milestones, through seasons of our lives when everything changed except him. He had always been there, my constant, my comfort, my closest friend. That day he asked to meet me alone. He didn't say much over the phone, just that he had something to tell me. I had no idea the words he would speak next would be the beginning of our end. We sat across from each other, 2 cups of untouched coffee between us. I could feel the weight of his silence. Something about him felt different that day. Nervous, but not anxious. Serious, but not heavy. He reached across the table, his fingers trembling just slightly, and said, "I've been holding this in for so long, but I love you. I think I always have." His voice was calm, but I could hear the ache buried beneath it. In that moment, time stood still. I wanted to say something comforting, something kind, but my heart didn't match his. I looked at him, the boy who once stayed up with me all night while I cried over someone else, the man who never forgot my birthday, who sent me songs when I couldn't sleep. And still, I couldn't say yes. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't love him that way. Not the way he wanted, not the way he deserved. So I whispered, "Zion, I'm sorry. I love you, but not like that." My voice was soft, careful. I thought kindness would soften the blow, but it didn't. He smiled. Not the kind of smile you give when you're happy, but the kind you force when you're trying not to fall apart. "It's okay," he said, nodding. I kind of knew. His eyes glistened, but he didn't cry. That made it worse, because silent heartbreak is the most painful kind. He stood up slowly, as if the world had gotten heavier, and picked up his jacket. "Take care of yourself," he added. Then just like that, he walked away. No drama, no begging. Just gone. I watched him disappear down the street, into the crowd, into the parts of life that no longer included me. I thought he might message me later. I thought we'd at least go back to being friends. But the message never came. The call stopped. The inside jokes faded. He didn't unfriend me, didn't block me, just silently removed himself from the story we once shared. And in that absence, I began to understand what he had meant that day. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it sits quietly beside you for years, waiting to be seen. Zayn had loved me in the background of my life, through every bad date, every lost job, every tearful goodbye. I was his person, but I never saw him as more than the best friend who never left. Until he did. Only then did I realize the space he filled in my life. And by then, it was too late. Months passed. I tried reaching out once or twice. No reply. I'd see him online sometimes, smiling with new people, living a life I was no longer invited to. He never looked angry, just changed, like someone who had finally let go of something heavy. And I couldn't blame him. He gave his love honestly. I returned it with politeness instead of passion. And that's the kind of answer that breaks hearts the most. Now, sometimes late at night, I replay that moment. His words, my response, and that heartbreaking smile. I wonder if things would have been different if I had met him at another time, in another version of myself. But this isn't a story with a twist or a reunion. This is just the story of how I said no, gently, and lost someone who loved me entirely. He smiled like it hurt and walked away forever.